Is the best college football coach of all time Nick Saban? Is Goodfellas the best mob movie? Does Handel's ice cream taste the best? Or how about, am I the world's best dad? There is no such thing as best, even if the art created by my newborn son Axton that hangs on the wall of my office states that hands down, I am the world's best dad. There are no best or worst, only different. And everything has a value that can only be truly measured subjectively. So, despite CPG brands still lazily utilizing best within marketing, it shouldn't be surprising to hear that people don't buy products because of that meaningless superlative, but because of how those products make them feel. And I think you'll be able to kind of easily pick up throughout my conversation with Jason Bronstad, CEO of MALK, that the premium plant based milk brand is focused on human connection and shared experiences. Milk feels like a CPG brand that knows who they are and, more importantly, who they aren't, which is extremely important in today's ultra competitive CPG marketplace. Jason and I will talk about the simple yet sophisticated approach to product strategy at Milk and how that's been a foundational core belief that connects to other elements of the commercial strategy. We also talk through the lessons learned thus far as Malk evolves and expands away from that kind of supernatural channel grocery shopper. Finally, Jason and I examine how Malk is leveraging the celebrity smoothie collab trend and what that strategy could evolve into next. But these are just some of the interesting topics we chatted about in this episode. So without further delay, here is the recent conversation I had with Jason Bronstad. Whatever intro, like scrap it, because this was just probably the funniest part of this all. Like, I feel like if there's no echo, I'll just like cut in all of like the false starts that we had throughout this.
This is the fourth start, Joshua.
Fourth start.
We got it.
I know. I always tell people right when I get on, I'm like, yeah, we're going to keep this raw and organic. And we're just like, we're not going to cut anything. And then I'm over here like fourth, fifth time. We're like trying to fumble through the technology part of this. We sound like a bunch of like boomer old people or something. I don't, what is going on here? This is good. But Jason, thank you for taking some time out of your day. I'm glad we finally got over this technology issue.
There we go. We're ready to rock and roll now, Joshua. Let's do it.
So let's talk through a little bit of your professional arc, because I find it fascinating. I like to always go through, and I also, in my mind, I always try to figure out, is that also a little bit of the personal journey or wellness journey and kind of how you thought through? Because you started out at and maybe there was some time before that, but the Sara Lee Corporation, which is a super fascinating conglomerate that had so many lives, and people probably just think of them as this like baked goods, frozen goods company. But when you were there, you probably still had a bunch of the wild like subsidiaries and businesses that made no sense.
That was a fun time. And so it was my second stop in my career. I actually started with a food broker, Crossmark, and I learned very quickly, it's like, man, there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. And I was able to join Sara Lee Food and Beverage. And as you talk about everything that they had their fingers in, between champion T-shirts, between connectivity that they had separated from with Coach Persis, but that was a connectivity that still wraps around to me today in some unique ways. But I jumped into the packaged meats world, as a early 20-something. That was exciting, selling hot dogs and sausage. Like, man, this is cool. And I was selling the number one or number two brands in the category with Ballpark and Jimmy Dean, State Fair, Hillshire Farm. And that was exciting. And God bless my wife, because we got married as I was joining the organization and started our journey of relocating a lot. So, we started in Texas, went to Colorado, then up to Chicago, all with Sara Lee up to the corporate office when they were consolidating all of the businesses, be it the bakery, so that you have the frozen, you've got the bread and all the meats. So that was the entry into consumer packaged goods on the branded side with Sara Lee. And then it evolved. I got a phone call that said, hey, do you want to go back to Texas and sell alcohol? I'm like, hold on. I can go back home and sell booze? Yeah, let's go. What am I going to sell? And it was Mike's Hard Lemonade. So I joined Mike's Hard, which Mark Anthony Brands is a parent company. Joined them and grew through the ranks there. Had another opportunity to come back to Texas to run a startup beverage company in 2016. And I took that. And throughout this journey, when I got back to Austin in 2016, we had our second child. So my daughter was born in 12, my son in 16. And I knew that I was not showing up the way I wanted to as a husband and a father, Joshua. And that's the reality. And I've got some serious envy. If you don't see it over his shoulder, he's the world's best dad, hands down.
Hands
And
down.
now I feel a little threatened. I got to talk to my kids about see how I can move up the ranks. But I knew I wasn't showing up the way I wanted to at the time, Joshua. So I shifted and I joined Sovos Brands and I ran Michelangelo's. So frozen Italian food. And here in this journey, most of my life, I was over 300 pounds. So not a small individual. And it was more about career and focus and advancement and title and than it was about, am I doing the right things for my health? Am I showing up for my family the way they deserve? Am I showing up for myself first? And I wasn't. I just simply wasn't. And I started training jujitsu in 2019, and I started to learn actually what health meant to me. And I needed the mental clarity of health as well as the physical challenge. And as that started to progress in 2020, I had the opportunity to join MALK Organics. And it was the first time there was a perfect synthesis, a perfect union of the brand that I had the opportunity to be a part of and where myself and my family were in our health journey. Joshua, you as a dad, like it's the first product I've ever had that my kids can have as much as they want. I don't have to caveat, like, you can only have so much of what dad works with because it's not good for you. Or, hey, you can have this once a week or twice a week, or obviously you can't have alcohol. So that journey and that the evolution is now my family thrives on adventure. And for our family trip this past year, we went to Olympic National Park and we went hiking. That wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. My wife and I weren't in physical shape to do that. We love being outdoors now. We love making sure that we're showing our bodies love so we can actually show up not only for our families, but for our coworkers the best way possible. So, and a very long answer to your short question, the arc does match where my family is in the personal journey, myself especially.
I was having a conversation recently with somebody that is an early founder of a company, and he was struggling in just showing up for his relationships, his wife, his kids, his friends, his whatever. He was struggling to, show up and put his all into the business, and then also into himself, his health, his, whole holistic side of his health. And he was like, I'm one of those all in people that, like, if I go all in one area and maybe I can do well at a second one, but the third one, it seems like I'm always struggling because it's like I'm pulled in so many different ways. And the only advice I can give him, because though I struggle with that, and I think you're always working through it. I said that, the best you could do is probably make sure you're taking care of yourself and try to get over the hump of making that a routine, making that a part of your own, like, just day to day, that it becomes seamless. Because eventually it seems hard at the beginning to get that going, but over time, then it becomes just permeates throughout your every aspect of your life. And it becomes like a little bit of subconscious or just autopilot, that then it's easier, but it's hard, I think, to see over the hill on that one first. And then you think, well, I can't do all three of these things. But, that was my, advice as someone that's still, I think, struggling. I think everybody's always trying to struggle. How do you give your all in all areas of your life?
And you can't. The short answer is it's absolutely impossible to give 100% in three different places. But the curiosity is when you're giving yourself to work in that, call it 50% of your day, how do you give that work 100% during that 50%? The reality is your family gets maybe 30% of your day, and then you're sleeping the rest.
Yeah.
So how do you show up in the moments and to be able to hold the space for that moment in time? And that's the one thing, and I've shared this with other people before. Men truly do a great job of compressing, suppressing, and repressing emotions. And that, we can cram it down. That doesn't bother me. I'm tough.
Mm-hmm.
Just this morning, I'm walking out of my bedroom and I stubbed the fire out of my toe. I mean, the toe basically went 90 degrees and back in, and like that much of a heartbeat. And I yelped. And in that moment, I'm like, I need to be tough for my kids, because my son comes running out of his room. Dad, are you okay? And I sat down and said, no, man, that really hurt a lot. Like, it's okay that dad's hurt. That hurt dad for a moment. I said, I'm going to just sit here and take some deep breaths. I'm going to breathe into it. And then, I'm going to finish getting dressed and I'm going to go to work. And I wanted to be vulnerable with my son to say it's okay to share that emotion. So instead of suppressing it, I'm like, in the moment, that hurt like crazy. Okay, it's not black and blue. It's not broken. All right, let's put a sock on, a shoe on, let's roll. So when you can find yourself with the space available for others, then you can really elevate. And I think that's what people crave from leaders is I need someone that can hold space for me in that moment. That's what our families crave. When you're with your child, when you're with your spouse, your partner, can I show up as my whole self to that person? That's where I think the difference is made. It's in those moments. It can be a 10-minute interaction, but am I showing up 100%? Or am I sitting here grabbing my phone going, oh, no, I heard a ding.
Yeah.
Can I give you 10 minutes? So the focus of that, I think, is the opportunity for all of us.
Talk about a hell of a day. I mean, you bust your toe. We can't get technology going. I mean, like this, this is tailor made for a nice LinkedIn post about how this is going to transform the organization and how and that's a joke. Is like there's a lot of people that like I love your content. I always loved Ryan's. We talked about it earlier. That works with you. Like there's an aspect of like rawness and realness and authenticity that like comes through, and then there's other people that like are stretching and like the fake it till you make it, and they're trying to like pull these massive lessons out of every little small detail, and you're like, no, just be yourself. It's okay.
I wish I could say it was the sugar hangover from Halloween or something, but it was just that's the way the day started.
Yeah. So let's get into where you're at now, and let's talk about. We'll start with the product, because I think that is an interesting distinction, because I do think like it arguably creates a string of other decisions that you've worked through over the last couple of years as the CEO. And I will say that I was aware of the brand for a while. I think I came hyper aware of the brand because when my wife was pregnant, we started to really look at a lot of the things that she was consuming and a lot of things that we were just default things that you kind of consider better for you or healthier for you. And then you turn around the package and you look at some of the ingredients and you go, you know what? I took that for granted. I didn't think through that. I didn't look at that kind of stuff. And it's more the mindless stuff. It's more sometimes even the foundation of things. Like I think of an almond milk, sometimes if you're going to put it in a smoothie, you're going to put like sometimes that base, if it's not correct or not, as healthy or as clean as you would like it, and you're hypercritical, I think, of those decisions during those life events. Maybe you take some of those decisions a little bit easier or more casual. And then until, it's in your face that, hey, maybe we should think about some of these different things. And the simplicity of the product, I think is really cool. It's really awesome. I think that it's a hot button kind of area overall across the board, because people are looking back into some of the other products that were created, say decades ago and go, wait a minute, it started like this and now it has 100 more ingredients. Why is that the case? I always think of the famous one in kind of my functional beverage kind of spaces like Gatorade. It started out, it was super simple. Yeah. When the University of Florida, guys created this product, and then now all of a sudden it has all these different preservatives and different things like that. And we know as CPG people, a lot of that is shelf life. A lot of that is, shelf life creates then your ability to have probably cheaper logistics, less waste, a lot of these kind of things that, as a consumer, maybe you don't really think about, but yet you wonder, why isn't a product as simple as your guys' product with the, few different ingredients over, I'll call it a conventional almond milk or a plant-based milk that has a lot of the different kind of gums, thickeners, preservatives, different things in there that, you should be consuming, or at least try to limit the consumption of.
You want to join our marketing team? You did a great job of talking about our difference. I love it. So thank you for that. Look, at the end of the day, you hit on a couple things, right? Simply made, nothing to hide. We even have hashtag turn it around, because it's not just for our product, our almond milk, our oat milk, our cashew milk. We want people to look at what are you putting into your body. And you reference like a life event change, right? You start to think about things, but how easy is it to be on autopilot? I can go to our online, store pickup, go hit order same as last week, order same as last week, order same as last week. We can step into these grooves where it's like, oh, this is easy. And then occasionally you got to take a step back and go, okay, Now, why am I doing that again? And that's the way when MALK was founded in 2015, that was the approach is why do the others have all these extra ingredients? Can't it just be as simple as water, organic almonds, and pink Himalayan salt? Yes, it can. Now it's taken us, we're a 10-year overnight success story. So it took 5 years and we started with one type of processing. It was HPP. And to your point, there was a decision that had to be made. Do we change how we get our product safe in the bottle for human consumption? Or do we add other stuff into it, other ingredients to preserve it? And we made the decision to switch to ESL, extended shelf life, which allows us to do everything you just mentioned. And that is to expand our footprint. When I joined MALK in October of 2020, we were in 1,400 stores. I actually went back and got the data the other day. And now we're in 10,123 stores. We haven't changed our recipe. We haven't changed. It is still clean, 3 simple ingredients on our hero unsweet almond. Our vanilla has organic vanilla extract. That's our 4th ingredient. But we had to make a decision to ensure that we met the needs because in our world, plant-based starts in natural channel. And we did. We had a great launch partner with Whole Foods, global partner, expanded into some of the other phenomenal natural channel stores, Sprouts, Mom's Markets, Mother's, and the like. And then we started saying, if we're truly going to have an impact on consumers' lives, we have to be where they're shopping. There's 67,000 stores that sell plant-based milk today. The vast majority of those are in MULO or mass. MULO being traditional grocer, your Kroger, Albertsons, Safeway, HEB, Publix, etc. So how do we go make sure that we can show up where consumers are shopping?
And it's interesting because I do think, maybe we'll get into this and probably weave around a little bit, but I think when you are in some of those, if it's supernatural or even just, the natural kind of space, I think there's a level of maybe, I don't want to say customer education, but just like a level of just like the understanding of what a true natural product is, even in a packaged form, and what that experience would be like, especially when you're drinking a beverage. What is that? And then the further you get away from that, the more that people probably consume a decent amount of the products we were talking about before, the ones that are, conventional, a ton of preservatives, tons of fillers, tons of gums and, oils and a bunch of things that make things taste amazing or make things definitely something that's highly palatable and you want it again and again and again. But it becomes one of those situations where the further you move away from the consumers that understand the product without you having to do a ton of education, the more you have to move downstream and educate consumers more. Because even if somebody is not drinking, cow's milk or something like that, and they're drinking their traditional kind of almond milk, there is an expectation of what they're conditioned, I think, over time, if that's what they had to compared to your product. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. That one's right one, but the reality is that the products are completely different, like from an experience standpoint. And I think then that creates, a string of decisions, probably on the marketing side and stuff that you have to kind of think through.
Yeah. And if you think about some of the earlier brands and some of the choices they've made, perhaps they were developing their product to try and match the texture of cow's milk. So there's choices and ingredients that will allow for that to happen. And you can look to mimic and closely relate it over. And for those consumers that want to switch and have that same exact experience, great. I'm not going to do that for you. I'm going to give you the cleanest plant-based products you can buy. And they're organic. And oh, by the way, we believe, and a lot of our consumers believe too, they taste great. And that's where we think that the absolute pivotal mark is. And that's why we believe we're seeing success within MULO is when people try it, they're like, oh, wow, this actually tastes really good. And it's just 3 simple ingredients. Man, how's this happening? And it's just the fact that when you peel everything else away, what are you trying to nourish your body with? We had Halloween last night. My son went as a piece of pizza, and his joke was, well, Dad, you said I should go. I am what I eat, so I guess I'm pizza. And my son loves pizza. So if you think about it, you referenced it earlier, you view almond milk as a base for smoothies and things like that. And you're adding other things as well, but you're very aware of the other ingredients you're adding. When you take a step back and say, oh, it matters what's inside of my almond milk too. That happens not just for the natural foods consumer, but that's happening for the consumer everywhere. 30 years ago, we shopped at one, maybe two stores. My wife on the regular will shop at 5 different places in a month. So she's looking for specific things. And if she doesn't have it, is there an alternative that's close enough to what she wants? And we believe that consumers are looking for MALK wherever they're going. And that's why we're continuing to expand within the MULO footprint.
Yeah. And it's probably an evolution, or just to your kind of comment around, I guess, the fragmentation of the retail market. Typically you had, and we could probably argue when you started there at MALK and just like 2020, it didn't start any of these things, but I definitely think it accelerated some different things where people looked at the overall shopping experience and they said, okay, I need to have more optionality here because of a certain thing that's going on. And then past that point, I probably had some different shopping behaviors and the way that I'm probably looking at things. And that ultimately created fractures and fragments. And then, for a brand that has its own kind of issues in terms of how do you, keep your story straight across every touch point and all those sorts of things. But from a consumer standpoint, no longer were they just stuck in this like one area. As an example, if a Whole Foods shopper, when you were, and I was living in downtown Austin when that happened in 2020, and we lived right above a Whole Foods. But yet when we wanted to try to simplify our shopping experience, like not go to 4 different places because we knew Whole Foods, you just didn't have everything we wanted. During that time where we wanted to limit the amount of times maybe we went out, we would go to, a Target or something that had a lot of other options like that. But yet we had to sacrifice maybe some of the brands that we couldn't get or something like that. And then all of a sudden, it feels like a lot of those more premium, a lot of more health and wellness focused brands since that time frame have made their entry into these more mainstream conventional growth. And arguably, I think some of that came down to the shoppers started to just spread out and disperse a little bit. And then they were demanding the same products and the same things in there. And over time, as the demand builds up, merchandising, kind of shifts, the strategy shifts a little bit, and they want to obviously meet the expectations of their consumers. So like the Walmart one is always interesting to me because I come and cut my teeth from like the supplement space and the sports nutrition, those types of things. And back when I started 15 years ago, if you were in Walmart, you were known as this brand that was, you're watering yourself down, or you were just boring and plain and nobody would want to take you. You're not cool anymore. And over time, it's kind of changed. And it's mostly consumer driven because the consumer base of Walmart has evolved a lot more. It's matured a lot more and wherever. But I argue every single one of these types of spaces that were thought of maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years ago as, oh, this is maybe a lower bracket economic, stature, whatever it is, those are all just gone. Everybody shops everywhere at this point. And as a brand, that has good and bad things, especially if you're growing and you're scaling and you have the option to be in a lot of different places where your consumers are at. Great. If you're a smaller brand, you have to, pick and definitely build where you're going to have your best chance of success and not try to spread yourself too thin. But it's interesting just that whole stuff that's going on and your guys' ability to grow substantially outside of like the core of where you were originally.
I love the fact that consumers have a thirst for knowledge. And I believe as it pertains to their health, it's a thirst that they won't ever quench. So consumers are continuing to inquire, ask questions, and really challenge what the status quo has been for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And as consumers continue to do the research and ask the questions, to your point earlier, it's like Gatorade's changed a lot. Okay, why? Okay, now what does this do? What does that do? Same with other plant-based milks. What is this? What is guar gum? What is it doing in here? What is rapeseed oil? Why is this in here? And the more our curiosity leads us, I think the healthier we become as a country. And that is exciting. Someone that didn't start their health journey till, in late 30s, early 40s, my goal is to instill that curiosity into both of my kids. I want them to challenge us on what we're putting in front of them. Now, my son will still be like, why broccoli, Dad? It's broccoli. It's like, dude, it's good for you. Like, you want to be tall like Dad? Let's have some more vegetables. And at the same time, this is happening not just with, the generation that I'm raising and you're raising, but it's happening with people that are graduating college now, people that are leaving graduate school and going, What are the choices that I'm making and why? That curiosity is so exciting. And especially, being a part of a brand like this, we get to lean into those people and say, hey, we're here with you. We love the questions you're asking. Keep asking them. I won't bash another brand, but I'll have questions about ingredients.
Yeah, because I think you have to put yourself in a pretty unique space, because I do think there's two ways in which maybe the super clean, super premium, so like this type of brand that gets built. Either they go and attack the conventional, attack the and ultimately when you're attacking a brand or a product that maybe is not as healthy, you're also in a way attacking the people that are currently consuming those products, but maybe not necessarily big fans, or they're not brand advocates, but yet they're on their own journey. Yeah, maybe they started with just drinking 2 gallons of Coke each day, and they're like, I'm cutting a little bit out, or I'm cutting, and at the end of the day, when you talk about the curiosity, like eventually those customers, as they start to learn more about plant milk and the differences of those types of things, and they realize, oh, not one is like the other, and there's different ones, they're going to eventually graduate up as well. And then if you trashed them early, I don't know if I'd be a consumer, I'd be like, I don't know if I'd want to be a part of that brand and be ultimate consumer of their product, because they spent all this time trashing me when I was still learning. But to your point, I think with your background, I think you have that ability to cut through that and say, hey, we want people to be curious, and hey, if we're not for you yet, we will be one day, and we just want to keep giving you information to let you have a better, I guess, educated consumption behavior eventually. But right now we're going to be where we're at, and we're not going to go downstream to try to meet you where you're at. We're going to meet you with education and information, but not to water down our products to meet a larger group of maybe arguably customers right now. I think that's an important part of this is just like knowing who you guys are and who you aren't, and not chasing a lot of that stuff.
We're still a growing company. We don't have an unlimited budget to communicate. And so we've got to be very choiceful in how we choose to do that. And, what we are doing is we're listening to our consumers. We're getting feedback. And I'll say that a few years ago, we started getting a lot of questions like, hey, when is MALK going to launch creamers? I love my coffee, but, quite frankly, because there's no gums, oils, fillers, or binders in our almond milk, it will separate, because coffee is a hot, acidic world. So, with the right amount of time, we finally launched our creamers. All right. We have a vanilla creamer and a caramel creamer, and we've got organic soluble tapioca fiber in here. That's what allows it to stand up in a acidic environment. But it takes consumers and the interaction with your consumers to say, I hear you. I hear what you're asking for. We launched 2 seasonals this year. We launched one last year, a holiday nog. We came back with pumpkin spice this year, and we just relaunched our holiday nog, because consumers are saying there are no clean options out there. We want to drink clean, and we love our indulgence at the same time. So you got to listen.
Yeah, and I think that, again, you say the overnight success, you mentioned that it's 10 years, and it's always interesting, because I think so many people do take a snapshot of today and they think, oh, I never heard of them before, so they must just came out of nowhere. Yeah. And a lot of this stuff takes time, and especially when you're trying to do things in a certain way, like the product is, and why I started with the product for you guys, because I do think it's an important part of your whole like strategic narrative. It's a part of your identity. It's a part of how you guys live internally, externally, with the customer and within the organization. I think when you are, super simple, you're trying to get to solutions in a way that's the most meaningful or impactful. You're trying to be transparent. You're trying to do these things. I'm sure as a leader, you're bringing those things into the organization as well. And it's coming both directions. But the product, I think, is such an important part of this whole thing, because it's really the nucleus or whatever of that thing. And everything's kind of built off of that. And when you compromise that, then you get in trouble. So when people want the fun, limited time offer things, or they want these different extensions or whatever it is, you have to be extremely thoughtful and intentional about how you do that. And it takes time. And I think, if you're transparent with your audience, it's arguably they should understand those things and say, hey, the development cycles for us are much longer, because we have to do things in a certain way to get to the result we want. We can't take the lowest common denominator simple thing that most product developers could do. They can use all these things under the sun, and it's pretty quick. We don't have that option. And you guys should appreciate us for not doing it that way.
Thank you for sharing that, because all of that obviously is spot on. And being organic, there's just a layer of the certifications that are required as we're vetting vendors, making sure that their certifications are valid. As there's the enhanced organic certifications this year that the USDA rolled out, FDA rolled out, that we are certified organic as well. Even just for buying the materials, we as an organization have to be certified organic. So not only is there the time, but there's also the expense with being organic. And it's worth it, because we can sit here and proudly say, hey, we're glyphosate free on our oats, on all of our products. And it's one of those dynamics that it's worth it, because at the end of the day, I said it earlier, my kids can have as much as they want and it doesn't concern me at all, because I know the quality of what goes in it.
Yeah. And that in itself should speak volumes, because again, going back to a lot of the core of where my knowledge base is at, I and my wife, like, we're going through, which vitamins, which prenatals, which these types of things. She had a big list of where she found it from, if it's, TikTok or, wherever people find the information. And I quickly was like, no, like all these different things. She goes, what? I go, the gift and the curse of being in the back end of CPG for this many years is that I have a good understanding of who's doing things the right way and who's not doing things the right way. And I said, now, unfortunately, we have to pick and select things that from people that are doing the right way. Again, from that life event, that was the shock in our space, but everybody else has their own kind of journey or ways in which they're approaching that. But eventually they all find their way in one direction or another. I think it's, this is a evolutionary type of a thing. I think over time, people, if they are knowingly or unknowingly doing so, they're trying to incrementally get better, even if that's through, sound weird, like I don't think I've ever used the word like procreation on a podcast, but like even that in itself, like is an act of, everybody's trying to get better. And I think that, like, we're going all over. And I told you when we started, I said, you're going to have to follow me.
I love that.
And if you could do it, then kudos to you. But like, I do think there's something innate in us that always thinks towards like trying to get better in different ways. And the world has thrown millions of different things at us to try to distract us. But at the end of the day, I think we still are trying to get better each day.
It goes back to curiosity, right? So be it if you're adding a new life into this world, as you did with your son a few months ago, and that is the turning point that sparks further curiosity. If it's a conversation that you and I are having right now that sparks someone's curiosity, there's absolutely nobody in this world that's going to take, hey, go do this now, right? That is the fastest way to turn someone off. It's like, no, I'm an independent thinker. I'm going to do what I want. And that's what we want. We want the independent thinkers to say, I'm going to go do the research. I'm going to go ask the questions. I'm going to go understand for myself. And we believe when they get to that point and they pick up our bottle, be it of our creamers, of our almond milk, that they're going to go, I get it. I understand why I should be buying this brand over another. And at that perfect point, when they're open to it and we're available, we've got a consumer for life.
I want to take a little bit of a turn here, but we're going to bring it back all the way. But I want to talk about the celebrity smoothie kind of world here, because when you're talking about, I just mentioned TikTok and you think about, virality, you think about these like pop culture adjacent food trend type things. Like, it's so insane to me. And this is coming from somebody that grew up in one of the statistically poorest places in the United States, in an old rust town in Ohio. I am amazed that people spend $20 on a smoothie at Erewhon. Even as somebody that has done a few things in his career that has been able to, can't afford those if he wanted to. This is like, it's such a fascinating, thing that's going on. This like, luxury symbol of affordable, like it's kind of affordable, kind of not, but like it's this thing that's in food that's like taken on a life of its own. And you guys are like right at the heart of it, not in the bad way, but like you guys are a part of this thing we talked about earlier, like sometimes the foundation. You guys are that foundation for these smoothies. And each time one comes out, I'm always just amazed at how popular they get. They take on a mind of their own. They're just so viral. They're art in like this little package. Like it's just crazy, man. I have to sometimes take away my personal bias of like, where I came from to like, the reality is this is some cultural thing, this moment that's happening. And you guys are obviously getting some benefit from that.
Yeah. It's a fun story, Joshua. And I remember the phone call going back Gosh, it had to have been fall of 21 when our now VP of National Accounts called me, and she said, "Hey, we've got this opportunity with this retailer, Air One, and I think we should do it." And I said, "Heather, if you think we should do it, let's go. Let's lean in." And it was an opportunity for us to not only lean in with a retail partner, but also what a great way to enhance our awareness. We were just in maybe 2,000 stores by that point. And to lean in there in a way, we didn't know that it'd go viral the way it did. And as it started to pick up the steam, what I saw in the partners in which everyone brought into those smoothies were other brands that were focused on making people healthier. They were the best of the best. They elevated not only the category, but that, you brought them all together for a unique combination. Yeah, they're $20, 18, 20, $22. And the way I look at it is like, okay, I now have a better perspective of what some of the best are. We were in a smoothie recently with Uncle Matt's Organic. Love that group.
Yeah.
What a great group focused on organic, driving, the business forward there. And we get to partner with really cool brands, awesome celebrities, and it just elevates the awareness. And it, to me, puts a spotlight on health and says, hey, there are things you can control based on how you choose to nourish your body. Here's a $22 smoothie. That's one way. But start to look at the components of that. And it becomes an achievable dynamic of like, hey, I'm interested in that, or I'm interested in that. And it gives you a roadmap of brands that you can probably trust.
I don't know if they give you, I'm sure they give you data on this, but which one was the most popular? Was it Hailey Bieber's one or what? Like, because that one seemed like was the one that broke through everything. That one was the one, and that one had, what did it have? Vital proteins in there. I think maybe Neocell and a few, I forget what else was in there, but like just in general, I mean, it was beautiful. You see people having those and you're like, I could see the allure of having that in my hand. That's definitely a wellness signifier. That's definitely something that tells people that, you are taking care of yourself and you want to look cool as well. So it was one of those things where I was just wondering, like, if you have ever gotten to that level, or if that is even the most popular one, because at least from my eyes, it seems like that one was.
So Hailey Bieber's still is on the regular menu. So yes, it's got staying power. The first one that really took the viral nature was Mariana Hewitt's Blue Cloud smoothie, and that was in March of 2022. And it was incredible timing. We were actually out in Anaheim for Expo West as that was starting to hit. My team delivered the smoothies to the local news affiliate, and it was on the news, and some great clips there. But what Air One's done a phenomenal job is personalizing these smoothies. So they'll bring in whomever the celebrity is, and they'll personalize it, and they'll figure out what works for them, and they put their stamp on it. So they're all unique in their own way. We're grateful to have the continued opportunity to partner with Air One in this journey, because we know that what they're going to add to our product is going to be clean. It's going to be, top tier in the categories they're in.
You kind of mentioned this, and this is where I was going to take this next question anyways, to kind of bring us back to some of the earlier comments, but the partnerships, or just having the ability to be with other brands in these smoothies, gives you, I think, a pretty good understanding of probably some of the teams, or maybe you get a little bit deeper into understanding some of those brands, and some of those ones maybe have the ability to create some type of like co-branded this, or some type of like different extensions. And I think about this in a way of, would you guys ever do an overnight oats by yourself? No, but could you be a co-branded product with somebody that makes sense or whatever? Like the strategy ends up moving away from the food service smoothie, and can you do that into an actual packaged good with partners and make it make sense and still have the same ability to show off some of the different usages and different ways in which this could work, and put yourself in a, I guess, a different category in people's minds through different products as well. And I don't know if you guys have thought through that or not, but like my mind went to that because I'm thinking you guys want to stay true to yourself and where you're at. And it's hard to do those things when you cross formats and you cross whatever, but you can find partners that are as close to, similar as you guys have, similar mindsets and approaches to product and brand and customer, and might be able to make some cool, interesting product collabs.
Yeah, that's something that's really exciting. And what I love about the way that our team operates is we're always asking questions. We're at trade shows, we're doing these collaborations, and we're, to your point, we're getting into these organizations and understanding who they are. And what it keeps coming back to for my team is like, oh, we love to support this brand, we love to support that brand. And generally, Joshua, it starts with we're going to buy the product. We've got an office in Houston, we've got an office in Austin. We're going to send this product to our team and let them try it. We want our internal people to try this product, understand it. What do you think about it? What do you think about this brand? And then it allows us to move forward in the conversations. So it is definitely interesting. And at the end of the day, for clean, natural, organic products, lifting each other up helps everybody. So is there a future collaboration? Maybe.
You would like clip that one, and it's going to be like, I predict. No.
I
Get some cash out of
predicted
that
this
one.
on 2024.
Well, Jason, I got right before I let you go. I have a question for you. If you know, it's an old Simpsons thing, which I'm sure you get brought up a bunch of times. And honestly, the only reason why I'm bringing it up because my audience will laugh because I always say everything's a remix. Everything is like this from the past, and that's why when I brought up the Sara Lee stuff and everything, like I'm a student of history of our space, of just the world. I am I love to watch human behavior and patterns and try to match all that up. And I'm not the biggest Simpsons fan, but I do know one that for whatever reason, those writers somehow are very good at predicting the future. And then secondly, the way that they describe that is honestly the complete opposite of the brand. And I was wondering like if the founder was like, let me take and do the opposite of that because I'm such a Simpsons fan, or if that's just a weird thing that happened.
All right. So you got MALK. It's plant-based milk. Take the I out, put the A in because we started with almonds. MALK.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's nothing more exciting than that.
I know. It's like dang. It's
that
like
simple.
Well, I feel like if you're gonna do a collab or something, you need to do like a like an apparel collab with the licensing of the Simpsons or some funny there's got to be something that you could just like take it and make fun of it and go with it, and it would just be one of those like publicity stunts where people would be like, "Wow, they really just embraced the funniness of that." And I don't even know if people really pay attention to that, but I when I was looking around and kind of paying attention, I was like, oh my God, yes, I do remember that because when it first came out, it was like the 90s when I was a kid watching it.
We have a counter for trade shows of how many minutes in until we get that question. So
it happen.
We have fun with it internally.
Yeah, you have to. But Jason, thanks for the time. Thanks for going with me on some of this stuff, getting through some of the technology, also, toughening up enough to get through this with a broken toe. I mean, all these things together, like I'm super appreciative. Friday afternoon, you probably want to go and, hang out with the kids and everything. So like everything overall, thank you.
Hey, Joshua, I've not smiled and laughed this much on a podcast. Thanks for making it light and just approachable. Congrats on being the world's best dad, hands down. I'm coming for you next year. I'm coming after you. It's game on. I'm going to talk to my kids, figure out what I need to do to take Josh's seat there. So appreciate what you do to get out there and just share the message with brands, have these frank conversations. I had the chance to listen to a lot of them over the last week and thoroughly enjoyed it. You've now had your first interview with the Josh and Josh Wan, and now you've mentioned procreation in a podcast for the first time. So we're making first as we go down the line here. We're just checking the box. Appreciate you, and hey, enjoy your MALK.
But I hope you enjoyed the first principles thinking that went into my latest YouTube video. If you did, can you do me a favor by hitting that like button? That quick and free action helps YouTube know my content is worth spreading to more people. Also, we're getting really close to reaching my next subscriber goal, and it would be great if you join me on this journey. But to do that, we need to fix the fact that slightly more than 3/4 of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, and that hurts my feelings. Regardless, I want to thank you for giving me some of your attention and time, and I'll see you on the next one.